Hello and welcome everybody to another Misfit Artist Drawcast. I am Ace.
I'm the Werebear, man, bear, pig, boy, yes.
So we're drawing a Werebear girl.
Werebear girl, yes.
Well, we did on stream.
We did on stream. We're trying to stream again, or at least we were until Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi's a bitch.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'd be cool because we're in the process of making a Werebear bestiary entry for the World of Hitcam, and I thought it'd be cool if for each bestiary entry we try to do like a monster girl pinup or maybe monster boy if we have more female or gay fan base that's like, hey, I want a handsome lad, because apparently I accidentally made Raven Knight Captain hot.
Yeah, how'd that happen?
I didn't try to. Some people
Why do people like bad boys so much?
Well, why did my friend from work say that I looked like him? He thought we modeled him after me. And I'm like, there's so
no.
There's so like
no.
Not the right facial hair, too tall, too muscly, too thin of a face. And he just looked at me like, so.
Yeah. I don't understand
but
at all.
I do see that I accidentally made him attractive, because even you said that I made him hotter than I had any right to.
I think, yeah.
Like one of the first storyboards, you're like, dang, he shouldn't be that hot. I was like, what the fuck? But
he should be evil.
We digress. So I want to get better at pinup girls because it is a skill that I notice and respect and would like to be better at. And plus, I hear there's good commission money in it.
Gotta get that cheddar, bruh.
Cheddar. Because I don't want to keep working at a retail store. And also, I mean, it's fun. I like to look at them. Therefore, I thought, what if I could make one? I think there's much for me to learn. My anatomy is better than it used to, and I didn't just make her like a perfect tight gymnast body. I tried to give her.
You got the muscles.
I put some muscles in there. I tried to put some fat on her. Like, I want to make her round and fun, but I also still want her to be a monster. Because I think that makes it that's what makes it an interesting pinup and not just like awkwardly sleazy, you know?
Yeah.
So I wanted to ride the line a little bit. Like, if you're looking at a hot orc girl from Skyrim, she can kick your ass, but you're still gonna look at her.
Yeah.
So that's why I try to go for, and the whole thing here is that you don't think I drew a pinup.
Because that pose is not pinup.
So you think it's just the pose? You think the costume constitutes? You think the body constitutes?
The costume and body is okay. It's just like the posing that I don't vibe with as like pinup.
Well, so and
so just look up pinup on Pinterest, and you'll just see a whole lot of like vintage like 50s art.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, there's a very
and just like
I'm not saying that I drew I'm not saying I drew a perfect pinup, and I'm not saying that I drew a traditional pinup. However, I think it can still constitute. It's kind of like the difference between a murder and like it's the difference between murder, manslaughter, self-defense, all that good stuff. It's all in the intent and what people get out of it, I think. And so, in case you didn't know, that's what the conversation of this Drawcast is going to be: is what makes a pinup. You know, how can pinups be more, be less? What's fun about them? It's just going to be a chill little kind of arty academic conversation, I guess you would say almost. But so that's my philosophy: is that, you know, a pinup is just something. Originally, I think pinups were like literally painted on B-17 bombers. So any girl that was slapped on a B-17, you were going to call it a pinup. So did you find the technical
what
definition?
You did, so pinup is a photograph of an attractive person, such as an actress or a model, that is hung or pinned up on a wall. A person who appears, yeah. So wait, what does this term?
So it's a very broad definition. Almost any arrow drawing could be a
So
pinup.
what you did well was subverting, like, the attractiveness trope, because it's a monster girl.
Mm-hmm.
But with, like, the posing, and the overall, I don't know. I feel like it's just something missing. It's just more of an action-y pose than like a more glamorous type pose.
But again, to me, that's where, because I wanted this character to have personality. I don't like, because you can make attractive girls and you can make them do all the classics and you can stick with that. But that's where it feels kind of hollow to me. And not to say that art still isn't good.
But
it's still
with
beautiful.
like pinup art, I feel like that's kind of the intent, is to be kind of hollow. Like, it's pinup art. There's no intent for any deeper meaning for that.
But there could be, I feel like that's the thing. I don't feel like there's any art, or at least there shouldn't be any art out there where to qualify for it, you have to limit the scope. You know what I mean?
No, please explain.
Okay. So let's say you're making an anime. Most people, there's the argument of it's any piece of animation made from a Japanese animation studio, which you can kind of call Gravity Falls an anime then too, because they used a Korean animation studio, which they have Korean anime, but I digress. And there are tropes for anime. Cat girls, fan service, mecha, what have you. However, if I were look at Akira, very famous anime, very good anime, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have those standard anime tropes though, mainly because it came out before they were solidified. Like, Akira came out in a time where anime was just people doing crazy stuff and seeing what they could get away with. Studio Ghibli work, also very not traditional, or what we consider not traditional, but stereotypical anime, because he was around before those tropes were established, and he's like, I'm just drawing shit. But just because, and some people would say that anime has to have fan service. Some people would say anime has to.
Well, there is fan service in anime to a certain extent. Like, there is just like fan service. No. There is just fan service in that, like, fucking balls to the wall action scenes and just. But most people would associate fan service with the ecchi style,
yeah,
where
that's
there's
what I'm saying.
like
if you were to make a checklist of what makes something anime, it would have that. But you don't have to limit making anime to I have to make ecchi fan service in it, otherwise it doesn't qualify as anime. And you don't have to say it has to be about. If you're making a mecha anime, no one would say it has to just be robots fighting and it needs to be the classic good and evil arc. You can put gray areas and you can put nuance into it and make it something different. Just because you subvert a trope doesn't mean that it doesn't fit in that genre anymore. For instance, we were just talking about
you want to like subvert the trope. You want to know the rules before you break the rules. So knowing the rules of pinup, but in order to like,
I don't think that
them,
one of the rules of pinup has to be keeping the work shallow. Because I would argue that attractive sexuality can be deeper than what is traditionally thought of. An attractive sexualized girl doesn't have to be the damsel in distress. The attractive sexualized girl could be the one making the moves. The attractive sexual. I mean, if some people's kink is, big strong monster girl who can crush your head in her thighs and rip your heart out, then that's someone's kink. And I think that's what I would like to do if we continue making.
But a battle pose is not technically pinup. When you think about it, if it's pinup, it's more just like model-y or more.
I also just I get bored with those unless there's a reason. I don't want to just draw the same pose over and over again. Because again, I find it more interesting, whether it's as a pinup or as something else, to make a pose that fits the character. Like if we want,
I get that, but when staying true to what you wanna like do with your character, you kind of break. I don't know what the hell I'm arguing anymore. Let's be honest, but
so we're very much arguing for the sake of arguing. You're not, to make it clear, Ace is not saying that my art is bad.
No, I'm not.
Because you do like the end result, right?
I do.
And we can both agree that it is, to some extent at least, sexually, femininely attractive, right?
Yeah,
like, if nothing else,
to an extent.
Yeah. And again, certain people will like it more than others. That's the nature of art. We're just solely having a fun little debate on what pinup is, what it can be. Is it good? Is it bad? And we've chosen our hills, so we're going to argue it till the end of the video. Just because I think an argument is...
If you wanna join in on the discussion, please do so in a very civil manner.
I feel like of all things to kind
we're not here to start flame wars, okay?
Of all things to kind of go ham on and have a dumb argument, I feel like whether or not this dumb Werebear girl constitutes as a pinup is kind of a... Because, like, if
there's enough Twitter fires already. We don't need to add more.
But, like, if anyone did go ham and get offended over whether or not this is pinup, I'm kind of okay with that. Like, they're caring too much to anyway. This is a monster that I drew because I thought it'd be fun. And that's all it really is. Again, I just find it interesting to be like, what is a pinup? What constitutes? And I would argue that this does technically meet the definitions. I think that because if I drew her, because again, each of these monster girls is going to be an original character,
right?
This girl could show up in hit cam. I kind of want her to. I don't know what she'll serve, but I feel like either she'd get along with Flopsy, or Flopsy would get really territorial and be like, I don't like this. I don't know how I feel about this. This is making me feel a weird way. Like, I just feel like there's potential for something like this. And so I want to make a piece that shows the character. Marilyn Monroe, if you look at a lot of her pinup photos and everything, attractive woman. Again, no one's going to argue whether or not, that gets the blood flowing. What people may or may not argue is just simply, how interesting is it past her butt showing, her boobs are showing, and to say that fan service or ecchi content or pinups have to be just simply showing off the assets, as it were. This is such a weird conversation, and I'm living for it. Just want to make that clear. You can say that, but I feel like any art form, again, because that's what horror fights against all the time. How many times do we see people arguing for horror movies to get into the Oscar, or to take animation seriously, and they say, no, it's a cartoon, it's just meant to be silly nonsense. Gravity Falls obviously is not silly nonsense, but it still qualifies as a children's cartoon. It's still animation. Quiet Place got into the Oscars. I believe it was at least nominated.
Fucking Sweeney Todd won.
Sweeney Todd won dozens of awards.
Yeah,
it's definitely still a horror movie. No one's gonna take it out of the horror movie genre just because it tried to do more with the genre than what's typically, credited to. And that's because no one's looking at Misfit artists and what we do to get just boobs and butt thrown at them, because we're storytellers.
Exactly.
But it's our channel, and like I said, it's a skill I want to develop, because you have to study anatomy and do all this. But I still want it to feel like something I made. In my professional career right now, I'm just told that I need to be able to branch out and do different things, and I respect that, and I want to do that. But if someone was paying me just to I'll draw just about anything for money. So,
Yeah.
But if no one's paying me, if there's no reason to not make it something I want it to be like, why wouldn't I add some more monster or action or horror flair to it? Because the whole point is we're making what we want to make.
And I think that just goes to show, like, the type of, like, artists that we are currently.
Yeah.
Like, what we want in our art.
Yeah.
Because you've been so heavily influenced by just, like, a lot of action and horror.
Mm-hmm.
And me,
and again, it's what I like.
Yeah.
I love it. I have ideas to contribute to that world.
Yeah, and I just personally like the whole pinup, just make everything pretty or make everything goofy.
Yeah. And I think we're learning from each other. Cause like I want more comedy in episode 2. Because again, to me, like that's what makes I've always loved that about horror movies and stuff is like just the level of stuff that you can have in it. I mean, you can have shots of just women skinny dipping and getting those really pretty glamour shots right before they're killed. You can kill them in this crazy way that's either funny or horrifying or both. And then you can have these very contemplative, serious discussions. I mean, and that's why I like this genre and like where our brand's tone is overall.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it gives us that ability to dip our toes in all sorts of different areas and still feel at home. And that's kind of what I want to do with these pins. Again, I still want them to be pretty, but I feel like there's more that can be done with them. Because I mean, if I want to, I can just draw a nude model and just literally have her standing there naked and just draw that, but that doesn't feel like it's challenging myself. Making an original character and telling, giving it personality and doing something interesting, that's interesting, and I think that can and should be done with the pinup. Yeah.
Well, with that being said, if you want to join in on the conversation, please, by all means, do so. Anything else you want to add?
There'll be other Monster Girls, I think. Episode 1's out. Watch episode 1. We're working on episode 2. We have another idea for a little web comic that we might start. We're going to do puppet shows because we have a green screen now.
Yes.
We have a new microphone.
Yes, I do.
Hopefully audio sounds better than it has in a while. But yeah, that's that. Have fun. Be safe.
Be
draw
spooky.
some stuff. Bye.
Bye.